Peters has become best known not for Team USA's Olympic history, but for his role in the darker chapter in American gymnastics history. A national team coach is slowly revealed of his sexual abuse to gymnasts. While in the top of the scene, small acts like being forced to weigh in gymnasts only in a bra and underwear was pretty standard in the culture. No gymnast or parent saw this as a warning sign of sexual abuse. Decades after Don's success, Don Peters, a national team coach, would make headlines again regarding his time on the top, stemming from the 1980s and on. Peters was banned from the sport by USA Gymnastics for sexual misconduct in 2011, following an Orange County Registry investigation. Do Yamashiro, a former U.S. national team member, filed a suit against him in Orange County Superior Court that threatens to further tarnish his reputation. I will read some parts from a 2017 Orange County Registry article. Yamashiro alleges that Peters repeatedly sexually abused her as a teenager in the 1980s. She targets scats in USA Gymnastics. In the suit, it alleges sexual assault, battery, harassment, negligent supervision, hiring and retention to warn, train, or educate, and gender violence, fraud, according to a copy of the suit obtained by the Southern California News Group. One gymnast by the name of Do was briefly discussed and chalked up. Some coaches, like Donna at Parkettes, was concerned that it might be true that he was sexually abusing her, but ignored trying to seek help for her. They made jokes, brushing it under the rug. Yamashiro told the Register that Peters first allegedly sexually assaulted her on the 1986 U.S. team national trip. Yamashiro told the Orange County Registry in 2011 that Peters repeatedly fondled her, beginning when she was 16, and had sexual intercourse when she was 17. During this time, from Little Girls in Pretty Boxes, the USGF stated that they had a proactive program in the early 1980s to fight sexual abuse, since several coaches were accused of molesting their athletes. This means that Peters could have been a reason why this program began, since allegations of him were there in secret. This could have been a way that USGF tried to cover up their tracks, that they had been released to the public, since Peters was a famous coach at that time. Peters was banned from the sport by USA Gymnastics for sexual misconduct in 2011 following the Orange County Registry investigation. Yamashiro's statements and similar allegations made by more than a dozen former gymnasts at Flares, a club, against Doug Boger, another U.S. national team coach, were seen in many in the sport as a red flag waving over the culture of abuse within USA Gymnastics that enabled the sexual and physical abuse of young athletes. In addition to Yamashiro, a second former Scats gymnast told the Registry in 2011 that Peters had sexual intercourse with her when she was 18. The woman said she had earlier been sexually abused by her father, abuse that Peters was aware of. The woman provided the Registry with a signed and sworn declaration attesting to the truth of her story. Linda McNamara, a former assistant director at Scats, who shared an office with Peters, had also told the Registry that Peters confessed to her in the early 1990s to having sex with Yamashiro, the second former Scats gymnast, and a third teenager. After all of this, Peters was hit with a lifetime ban from the sport by USA Gymnastics, the sport's national governing body, in 2011, following the Orange County Registry investigation in which 3 women said Peters had sex with teenage gymnasts. Peters did not contest the ban, nor show up at the USA Gymnastics disciplinary hearing on the case. In 2017, Peters requested his denials of having sex with underage gymnasts be changed in the deposition transcript to assertions of his Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate himself. John Manley, an Orange County attorney representing the former U.S. national team member, urged an investigation. Manley asked Peters during the August deposition, "Did you have sexual relations with any minors while you were on the national team?" "No," Peters said. "Did you have any sexual relations with any athletes on your team while you were the national team coach?" "No," Peters again said. "Were accused of any at that point?" Manley asked. "Yes," Peters said. Manley also asked Peters, "Did you have sexual contact with any gymnast prior to 2010 at an international competition?" "No," Peters said. But in a September 28th letter to the Tustin Court reporter company handling of the deposition, transcript Peters filed a errata sheet in which he changed his 3 no answers on the question about sexual abuse in the transcript to, "I refuse to answer this question on Fifth Amendment, relevance and privacy grounds." Peters also wrote that changes were made because he said the sex abuse questions were beyond the scope of the deposition. When somebody gives an answer in a deposition and then changes it and then wants to insert the Fifth Amendment, people have to draw their own conclusions. But I would say I've never seen this before in 28 years of practice, Manley said. 4 of the 6 members on the silver medal team trained under Peters at SCATS. But USA Gymnastics not only banned Peters following the registry investigation, but he was also removed from the Sports Hall of Fame. But the revelations by Yamashiro and the other woman were not enough to prompt then USA Gymnastics chief executive Steve Penny and chairman Peter Vidmar to enact policies that effectively only address the problem or launch an investigation to determine the intent of the problem. While under the terms of the ban, Peter was prohibited from being involved with USA Gymnastics member clubs. An Orange County Registry investigation earlier this year found that Peters continued to oversee SCAT's investments, was listed as a key employee on financial documents, continued to charge meals and other items on SCAT's credit cards, and made appearances at SCAT's facility. Under USA Gymnastics rule, member clubs and registered businesses agree not to employ or use as a volunteer anyone who is on the permanently ineligible list. But despite his 2011 ban, Peters continued to oversee SCAT's investments. The values set forth by SCAT's, who had a legal, moral, and ethical duty to protect Yamashiro, were compromised and ignored, and allowing Peters to access Yamashiro, as well as other gymnasts, physically, sexually, and without abatement, according to the suit. SCATS, the suit continues, was operated as a facility solely motivated to cull athletes for USAG and the USAG national team at all costs and irrespective of the emotional toll taken on minors in its custody, care, and under its control. SCATS and its agents, employees, officers, and directors fueled an abusive, harassing, and degrading environment, intentioned at hardening and desensitizing the most elite gymnasts to compete at a national level with USAG under Peters' instruction. Both before and after his expulsion, Peters routinely used SCAT's credit cards and checking accounts for his personal benefit, according to documents obtained by the registry that includes IRS and California Department of Justice filings, credit cards, bank, and online trading statements, billing invoices, and memos from former employees. Many in American and international gymnastics were surprised when former U.S. Olympic coach Don Peters, in August, denied under oath that he had sexual relations with underage female gymnasts while U.S. national team coach in the 1980s.